Insidious is kind of the definition of what scares you most is what you can imagine as opposed to what you see.
Should we try rehearsal for camera?
And action!
I love how creepy they are without being, like, gory and bloody.
It's more about pain and the anticipation of fear. It's an incredible story. I knew the other films, so I, like any fan, when I realized that this is an origin story or a prequel, it's great, and patches together a lot of the details that would start the other films. So it's really kind of ingenious in its own right, just that he is going somewhat back in time.
We're set.
And action!
As anyone who's seen the first two films knows, the character of Elise, played by Lin Shaye, is dead. She's been killed.
The hardest thing was killing her character in the first film, because now I'm like, okay, I want Lin to be in all the other Insidious films still, but how do I bring her back?
In most scary movies or paranormal movies, there's usually a paranormal expert or someone who talks to spirits, and it's very hard to make that person feel credible. And one of the reasons Lin's role is actually a lot bigger in this movie, and we had her in the first and second movie, is Lin is great at selling the idea that she really does actually talk to ghosts. Like somehow when you see Lin play that part on the screen, you believe she's doing what she's doing.
I felt like the best way to kind of dive into her character was to go back in time and see what she was like before the film. And the more I was writing the script, the more interesting that idea became.
Oh. Elise has become very dear to my heart, and I was very excited at the prospect of reprising her and developing her more. That was, for me, the most exciting part.
I started seeing the story as one of the retired gunslinger that kind of comes back out of retirement, that classic Western story that's been told in so many different genres of, you know, the former ace who's now in retirement, who gets kind of lured out.
When we meet Elise in the first film, she's kind of, you don't know much about her. You just know that she's this kind of normal woman, or so she seems, you know, who has this ability and this gift to help other people. I was able to unfold who she was and what it is that she goes through to become the person we meet in the first movie.
Very emotional scene for Lin. I know it's not ideal to roll on the first one before you figured yourself out, but I just want to do it for Lin if you guys are cool with that. Handy mark. And action.
But now there's someone on the other side who keeps telling me she's going to kill me, and I think that I have seen her before.
I like the intimacy of what you're saying.
Okay, but was that too quiet, what I just did?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I won't make it too quiet.
Yeah,
I want to
okay.
make sure that I look around and I make sure people aren't listening to us because they're...
Yeah, exactly. And I like the way you followed her off, because it instantly conveys to the audience that what you're saying is a secret. She's so terrified by it, and she really believes that she's going to die. And we discover through the course of the film that this figure that's haunting her is the bride in black. She doesn't know it yet, but she's almost seeing a premonition of her death in chapter 1. People loved the time-traveling element of chapter 2, and so I thought if we could have Elise experiencing these premonitions of her own death, it would give deeper meaning to the first film, because you realise she goes into that first film almost knowing she's going to die. You know, she's seen this house before.
After a year of not doing this, it's a big deal. Big deal. But everything else is great. We're going to do it one more time.
It's kind of a contrasting story of Quinn and Elise. They kind of mirror each other in a way. You know, they're both dealing with loss. They're both at a weird point in their lives. And I think they kind of both end up helping each other out.
It's a really hard time in her life, being 17, about to graduate high school, trying to find the right college, any kind of situation that a normal teenage girl goes through, except I don't have my mom there to talk to about it.
And she just really wants some advice with her mother, and she's so desperate to talk to her that she goes to visit Elise.
Okay, quiet, everyone. Deadly quiet. And action.
Watch your step.
Oh, I love the style of your house. It's so cool.
Quinn was an interesting one because I wrote this character of a teenage girl, and, you know, I can't relate that much to a teenage girl. I remember calling friends of mine and being like, what were you like when you were 17?
I'm not going to school today. I have an audition for a theater school in New York.
We went through a lot of different girls, and we were pretty demanding, and we made them do a lot of different scenes with different ranges. And I really wanted a teenager. I didn't want to go for the 24-year-old playing a teenager.
It's impossible to to me that she's 17 years of age. It's impossible.
Quinn's diary.
I was given like a whole box of stuff to first decorate it. And of course it had like jewels and markers and paint, and it was huge. And I was just like, oh, I want to use everything. I was really nervous at first because I was like, oh, what if he doesn't like the doodles? What if he doesn't like my handwriting? What if he doesn't like what I'm writing as Quinn? But he was really like, this is you, you are Quinn. And it's really cool because the journal is a huge part of the movie.
Dad, I have to learn my lines. When am I gonna do that?
I need your help here. I'm drowning. He's running late. You could have done this anytime.
I don't agree with the theory that characters have to be likable. A lot of my favorite films feature psychopathic protagonists, you know, whether it's Taxi Driver or whatever. So I wanted to bring this real father who was really not coping with the death of his wife and was really prickly, could be set off, you know, with a moment's notice.
Nobody cares what you're having for breakfast. Will you just go get your brother ready for school, please?
It's difficult to find an actor who can do that and still be sympathetic, and I just really think Dermot did that. I could see the struggle with him. He just has this inherent goodness inside him that I think translates.
I love a lot of the movies he made, like in the 90s. You know, when Lee went with him here, I was very excited.
From my point of view, this is it's a family story. I mean, that's one of the things that will help this movie be appreciated for what it is. I mean, because it's got just more to it than a lot of films in this genre. It's a broken family that's trying to just get by day to day. And that part feels really real in a way that it would if I were making a family drama, say. So on top of that is the fun stuff.
I can't do this.
88 Apple, take one.
Sound of speeding?
Mark.
Be Mark.
And action.
If someone gets attacked by a person on the street, they can go to the police. If they're attacked by something they can't see, something they can't comprehend, they only have people like us to go to.
We really like his character of Carl, both James and I, so it made sense to bring him back as a nod to the other two films. You know, there's got to be some connective tissue between the other films, even though it's a prequel.
Originally, I wasn't in it, and because I kind of knew they were doing a whole different story, and Carl was connected to more of the Lambert family, but then I got the call, and it was like Commissioner Gordon, you know, calling, it's like, I'll walk there.
Just wait, baby. Thanks. You just slowly back her up and then start turning her around.
The yellow mark.
One thing James and I wanted to do when we started out making the first film was strip the film right back down to just the bare bones of horror.
Setting up the scenes, it's okay to sting a scare scene loud and go crazy, right? You want the audience to jump and popcorns to fly everywhere, but you need to understand how to build up into it as well. It's not just a case of just have someone walk down a hallway and then just sting the soundtrack with a really loud sting.
Over the years, horror's become more histrionic and there's a lot of false scares, you know, the classic cat jumping out of the closet scene, so to speak. James and I wanted to strip all that out and just go back to the smallest of fears. Just a floorboard creaking can set you off. And those are the things that scare you in real life. And your own imagination freaks you out. And we really wanted to draw on that.
Lee was determined to practically frighten us.
There's a scene with the bell that's supposed to wake me up, and we rehearsed it a few times, and by the time we shot it for the first time, he puts this air horn on, and it scared me so bad. I mean, I guess he got the reaction he wanted.
Lee managed to find a way to make stuff that I thought would feel fakey. He made it feel really real while we were making it.
Yeah, let's reset the shake. We'll do it from the shake. And action.
It's almost, there's a choreography to it, and there's camera tricks, like practical camera stuff rather than special effects or visual enhancements. They're doing like really old school camera stuff to achieve effects that other people fail at using modern technology.
3, 2, 1, Lin.
Okay, cut.
Leigh really gets the kind of nuances that you need to create like your horror scenes, to create suspense and tension. And a lot of I find a lot of filmmakers today don't understand that, for example, going quiet is important.
That was really nice.
Everything was perfect. Super perfect.
That was awesome.
It was perfect. The angle of the light, the reveal, everything was awesome.
Guys, which take are we matching to? The last one or the second to last one?
Second to last. We're matching to the second to last.
Well, you need to back up 4
And
inches.
is that like just like this? I mean,
What's her eye line?
Oh, that's good, buddy.
Yeah. 50-50, please.
50-50, please. Tell them to do 50-50.
And then just chin down a tiny bit. Yeah, good.
Remember her chin.
50-50? I think that's it.
Get away
really-
from me,
we-
then do get away, and then do one where
Yeah,
you
I
just
mean, that was
scream.
pretty good,
But
yeah.
Get away from
screaming,
me,
it's
get
really
away
hard.
from me. Yeah.
Action.
Get away from me!
God.
I love that. Now we can move on.
Check again, please.
What we love about the Insidious universe is we truly go for the unexpected scare. Things kind of build, you're being teased, and you're getting to this point where maybe you can't take it anymore, and then hopefully we pull the rug out from under you. We don't want any of the scares to be expected, like, oh, I can see this coming.
Get away from me!
That is a craft, a lost craft that not many people, not many filmmakers understand or maybe care about. The fact that Leigh really does makes me feel very good that he's taking over this franchise.
Leigh has really become the triple threat. You know, he's the producer, writer, actor. And I think he didn't realize how hard that was going to be.
Roll sound.
Rolling. Very quiet, please.
And action. So this whole journey of writing and directing Insidious 3 started for me right after Insidious 2.
When we weren't able to have James direct it, definitely everybody's first choice was Leigh. And at the beginning, Leigh was kind of had one foot in and one foot out, but he did agree to write the script.
Quiet, please.
Start spinning. Set.
The interesting thing about Leigh is not just that he's the writer and has a passion for the material. He knows every word of his own script.
So it's like sometimes I see him back there going, you know, and if I got a word wrong, it was like I'd be in real trouble.
And then attached to that memory of what's written down is the visual that he has attached to it. It's the most incredible thing to watch because nothing gets by him, and he has got a meticulous quality to what he wants to achieve in even the smallest scenes. You know, he has a vision for it, and that's how it goes.
Here we go.
Yeah, it has to be a little more. Do you want me to add
even
in
more,
the
just like
dialogue?
On the bell, please.
He's so worried about
I got a lot of respect for the guy. I was kind of reading up on it and like how, he was just like an auditioning actor and then wanted to like make work for himself and just went and like wrote this thing and then turned it into a franchise and stuff. I think it's really inspiring and like cool, especially being a young actor myself.
Specs.
What's great about Specs and Tucker is Specs and Tucker. Leigh has created this friendship between the two guys that is so delicious and so real.
Now, this custom-made camera of mine is outfitted with a small lens.
Basically a hidden camera.
It's not basic, and it's not hidden.
In real life, they're such good friends. I guess they've known each other forever. So in between takes, it's like Leigh isn't even the director anymore. They're just like goofing off.
1 second. Pulling a mark that we see.
He has to direct the movie, but he's at the same time, he's like writing lines for him and Tucker in between it.
Just up until that point.
Let's run it.
Yeah, but why not run the scene with you backing out of the door? I'll just say, go Angus.
And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
We've probably been chatting. We've probably taken down a case of our own. You're taking down the heaviest case.
I'll be saying, good
You know what I
job.
mean?
You did
I think
really
your backpack's on and just leave it on. But yeah, this will be open. You'll be kind of like there, and so I'm just sort of like, yeah, exactly.
We needed something to sort of indicate that this was pre them getting their lives in order somewhat with the overseeing of Elise.
There's a great line at the very end where she says, first time you've ever seen a ghost? Leigh originally had written, it gets easier. And I said, I think it should be, it never gets easier. It's always hard to see the ghost. Is that the first time you've seen a ghost?
Yes.
You never get used to it. He's given me all the seeds, and that's what I think a great writer does. The ideas fill what he's written, but what the actor does is fill it with their own heart and soul of what that means to them personally. I was very grateful that Leigh was able to discuss things like that, with thoughts like that with me.
In general, it's just a fun set. To be on, the energy is really positive, and there's just a lot of passion behind everything he does. He really is passionate about horror.
Action.
Hi there, Quinn.
Thank you for coming in.
I love that James is making a cameo in the film. I think it's testament to Leigh and the love they have for one another and warmth they have for each other.
Well, it was good directing James as an actor, so I can get back at him for all his years of abuse and poor treatment.
You kidding me? I was like, this is the easiest thing as an actor. I just sit there and just say my lines and then go back to my trailer, go to the craft service table. It's
It is
easy
pretty
stuff.
easy, I'm not gonna lie. I was ruthless with him. I think his performance was poor, but I saved it in editing.
You prepared something for us?
Yeah, I have.
I guess I've had the best horror film school that anyone could wish for, just sitting just to the left of James all these years, watching him direct, you know? What I learned from watching him was just priceless.
I couldn't think of anyone better to take over this film, but Mr. Whannell here.
You did have a few thoughts, and when they didn't return your calls, you called me.
That's true. I went through a whole list. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I have to settle for Leigh Whannell.
Exactly.
Well, the thing with Leigh is that he studied filmmaking at university with James. They were both studying to be directors. That's where they met, how they met.
He would offer little bits of advice like, you know, have the ghost walk backwards and then run it forwards, because it looks strange and inhuman, you know?
The next day, I think I had Stefanie walk backwards and we ran it
cool.
forwards. So, you know, it's cool
I would text him, you know, with scare tips, and he would text me back with how to blow up cars,
Yeah.
and gunfights,
Good
and
with that
explosion.
stuff.
Yeah, it was
Really
great.
good
We were
with
helping
that.
each other out on our films.
I feel like there's a lot of goodwill for the Insidious films that he is responsible for instilling in people. If I can just utilize that goodwill and do a half-decent job, it'll all be good.
You should apologize.
I apologize.
What would you have us wear instead?
I think a shirt and tie would be nice.
Okay, cut.
I think the scariest part of Insidious is that this stuff could happen. I would like to think it doesn't. But again, I think that's what makes it so scary, is like this stuff that just is wrong.
For me, the scariest part of the Insidious films is I love ghost stories and paranormal stories, but how realistic they are and how, like, you know, when you hear a noise and you're just like, oh, it's nothing, nothing is happening. But in these films, it is something. It's something trying to get you, and that's frightening.
What I find scary is when you've got a helium balloon in your house and it's kind of deflated and you go to bed and you walk out in the middle of the night and the helium balloon's like halfway down the corridor, or it's not where you left it. And the more you think about it, you're like, what if someone's moving the helium balloon around and leaving it and then wakes you, you know?
Real life scares me, like paying bills and taxes and signing forms and doing things on time. That's scary to me. I'd like to retreat from that world by writing films about demons that are trying to kill people, which is my happy place.
B-Mark. Tonight we are shooting the scene where Quinn gets hit by a car. We're like low-key eating street tacos and then boom!
This is a huge stunt. This is gonna be awesome. I get to have blood all over me. This is one of the top 3 scenes that I've been so excited to shoot.
I'm kind of nervous because having never directed a film before, I'm always curious what's about to happen. It's not like I have 3 car hits to compare this to on other films. So this is my first car hit, and I hope it goes well.
Here we go. And background.
My mom on the way out today, she was like, okay, drive, be careful. I was like, Mom, either way, I'm getting hit by a car. And she just looked at me with death in her eyes. She was so mad at me.
Got this street locked off. We own the street. You can see the car down here. It's kind of one of the first big jump scares of the film.
What's a little bit unique about this one is in the film we really want to see the actress get hit by the car, so visual effects is helping us out and morphing a couple of different plates together. So we're going to do a piece where Stefanie, who's playing Quinn, is going to walk across the street.
And cut!
We're going to put a line on her and pull her out of frame into some pads.
As previous ones, you were landing on this side.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, action.
Here we go. Roll sound. We're rolling.
And mark. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action! Steph, you good?
Yeah.
One more. Very good. One more for safety.
I was just on a crane and got yanked really, really hard. Yeah, it was really frightening. I know I had such a terrified look on my face before it happened. I couldn't stop the terror from my face, though. I know I looked really scared.
Thank you, everybody. Pictures up.
Lee, was the look at the beginning okay? Okay, I just want to do it right.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
So remember to breathe.
And we set.
Set.
Mark.
Okay. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action! Nice.
All right.
Good job, Steph.
I don't even know what happened. It happened so fast. They were like, do this with your head and try to do this with your knees, and by the time you do it, you don't really know what's happening. You're just being flung in the air and somehow landing.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action!
Freeze there. Freeze. Go ahead. Cut.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Check the gate, please. Check it out. Very nice.
Good gate, lads.
Thank you. Good gate.
We're going to put a articulated stunt dummy in place where she was and hit that at about 25 miles per hour. And I've got 3 different dummies tonight, so in case one blows apart, then we can put another one in place.
I just saw the dummy, and it's so freaky. It's fake. It's a fake person, and it's not alive, and it's really weird.
Did you see the dummy? The dummy is like super real and terrifying. So I think it's going to be a very traumatic experience to see, but it's a really fun thing to shoot when it's fake, obviously. So I'm excited to see it.
It's going to be creepy when it's standing in the middle of the street getting hit by a car and you see it get flung down the street.
I love it.
That'd be fun.
Lovely.
All right, I'll see you in a little bit.
Most films you see where a car hits, it's always a cutaway, a wide shot where you see the stunt double. You can pretty much tell it's a stunt double, going up on the hood, and this is going to be much more authentic. We're kind of taking a bit of inspiration from a few other films where that's happened in the past.
We're about to hit a dummy off of this rig. First thing we're going to do is Terry, our stunt driver right here, is going to drive the Subaru right through here. He's going to hit his mark. He's going to skid into place without hitting the dummy. So we're going to do a couple dry runs without hitting the dummy, skidding into place so our camera can kind of see where we're going to land and where the camera's going to be.
We've got 2 different cars, so if one car gets beat up, we've got a spare. We've got an amazing stunt driver, Terry Jackson, who doubles Bruce Willis for his whole career. So yeah, he's one of the best in the business.
It always amazes me how much precision the stunt drivers can have. They can stop on a dime right where you want them to.
That's a cut. We're going to hang up this dummy here. We're going to have a tripwire hit the dummy, and it's going to land. When it hits, when it lands, when the car stops, nobody moves. We'll figure out if we like it, if we love it, we're going to stick it there. The car will be traveling 25 miles an hour is our target. We're hoping that our dummy will get about 20 yards, 15 yards before that plus mark. All right, we're bringing in the stunt dummy.
Too far now.
Too far?
Yeah.
When you're working with dummies and stuff like that, you just never know how anything's going to land. God is the true director on such occasions.
All right, guys, we're hitting this dummy. Pay attention, please. Pay attention, everybody. All right, let's roll sound.
Rolling. Sound is spinning. Action, Terry.
I definitely love practical effects. I mean, I grew up watching 80s horror movies that were all done with prosthetics and latex makeup effects. You know, I love Rick Baker and all these guys, Stan Winston, who cultivated this industry of practical effects. Obviously today, visual effects and CGI is much more prominent, but I still love it, and I love the idea of doing things practically where possible. But at a certain point, the visual effects guys are actually awesome at covering your tracks. You know, they can paint out wires and things, and I think they're really great at augmenting mostly practical stunt.
But in the chaos of how quick it is, we're frame by framing it. Like if you...
Yeah, but who's normal speed? The two impact frames? I mean, yeah, look at it full speed. Yeah, I mean, look at it full speed. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome.
And there was a few hits that looked almost too brutal. They would have been deaths. But I think we found the right one.
Great.
You happy with that, Matt?
Yeah. That's a wrap on the dummy.
I'm about to get all bloodied up and get blood everywhere and just look awful. And then film a little piece with me post being hit by the car.
Her arm should be up this way more.
Cool. That looks great.
Hollywood glam.
So you'll run around here and go, and then come right in and lean down.
And you want me to lean like parallel like we had last time with by the head, or do you want me to be more in that pocket? I'm probably going to have a dramatic scream, potentially slow-mo blurriness. So I'm preparing for that, but I don't get to jump out of cars or do anything crazy.
All right, guys, so we're doing last looks, pictures up. You're set? Set. Here we go. Ready, and action!
Just go up to Maggie quicker once she's there. Go up to her a little bit.
Hello.
A couple of different, combinations and visual effects will morph all those together to get a final shot where Stephanie's walking across the street and gets hit by the car, and the camera's going to go, nice and close to her face, so it'll look like, yeah, it's pretty authentic.
Stephanie's very excited. She was a real trooper. I mean, the stunt guys are so great, and they're really understanding, and they sort of talked her through it, and everyone's so safety conscious. I mean, that's the trick, you watch a movie and everything's supposed to look so dangerous, but once you get on the set, you just realize how safety conscious everyone is, how slowly you step through it, and it looked great.
Yeah, it was really scary. I have a couple battle scars, and it was fun.
Hey, Mark.
And action.
I knew that Insidious 3 needed to exist in the same universe as the first two films, but I didn't want it to be a carbon copy of what James did.
Hey, Mark.
Come on in. This is like a nice girl and her dad, or all these sort of elements that invite you in, and then they just ring you out.
Action! This is how you die. James had a very distinctive style to his ghosts, wearing the white with the makeup, and he loves that gothic style, and I love it too. But when I was thinking about what would be different about this chapter, I was thinking that the ghost could be more horrendous and sickly in a way.
Our very first meeting was just the tone that he wanted to create. He just wanted something with this script to feel more filthy and saturated with grime and dirt and disgust.
In an Insidious film, your demons are your bread and butter. Fractured is a group that we've worked with before. They did the first 2 Insidious films. We love them. They're just so good at what they do, so passionate about it, and they've created some pretty iconic ghost figures for us.
Leigh had a specific vision of just someone that's trapped, and one of the ways to create that was taking away your senses, so taking away the eyes, taking away the mouth. And the way we created that, we did some concept design work, brought the actors in, did life casts of them, and from that we actually sculpted prosthetic pieces that matched their skin, but completely covered their eyes, completely covered the mouth, and we did a little bit of visual effects augmentation. So we could actually keep the eyes slightly open so they could see. They would just transition this flesh right across those small blends. So this is one of the eyeless appliances. So this would be blended down, all this flashing gets melted away, so it's her nose, her mouth. It was a great idea Leigh came up with. He wanted these jump scares, these really shocking kind of elements that we could put in there. And there's a lot of that in the first Insidious and the second Insidious as well, so you wanted to carry that along. And how we actually created that, we created almost like a vacuum shell that fit onto the actor and had the wig, everything onto it. They're actually facing the wall, so it looks like they're facing the wall. But when they reach up and pull it out, there's another face that's hidden inside there.
Get away from me!
All right, so this is the template, the red pattern template, actually created for the very first Insidious. So when we have a reprise of Red-Faced Demon in this one, we were able to pull this back out of our archives. And this is Joe Bashar's face underneath, with his prosthetic nose that he wears there. Once the prosthetic is on, this pattern would go on, and we could airbrush the silhouette so it matched every single time. So there was always consistent continuity to it. And this is his, the new prosthetic that he wore, which this one, I just wanted to give him a little more expression. So originally he basically wore just a nose like this. For this one, we ended up giving him a little more cheekbone and a little more of a furrow to his brow.
One of the tricky things in horror films is how to accurately represent really scary images. And I think our makeup and effects team has done a terrific job in creating a demon here that's very, very scary. And I think, when the audience see the demon for the first time, they'll definitely get a serious jolt.
We spent a lot of time. I think we did at least 7 or 8 variations of design. I enlisted the Aaron Sims company to do illustrations for us. Aaron Sims also worked on the very first Insidious, creating the Red-Faced Demon. Once we started dialing it in, I think the final couple passes, we were close. What are we missing? We need something that's got a tone or something. So that's where the weird oxygen mask came in. So that was the final little piece to create something that was really unique. The idea was to try and make his wardrobe, skin, the mask, everything just feel tattered and kind of webbed together. But this was the final look that Leigh signed off on, which had kind of this almost like bed sore sort of feel to it, just completely rotten. Looking at prosthetics, I have a couple of the prosthetics here. These gel-filled silicone appliances, once glued to the face, they're sculpted exactly to his form. Once glued, they're painted. This outer edge here, which is called flashing, this stuff actually gets melted away, and that I don't know if you can see it, but that little translucent edge gets melted and blended into the skin, so it becomes a seamless blend to him. But this material, it's basically a gel, silicone skin on the outside, so it has a membrane, and then there's a gel fluid inside. So when you feel it, it moves and wrinkles just like real skin.
The makeup guy showed me pictures and mock-ups of what the character looked like, and they told me what I was going to be expected, and it was a matter of gluing prosthetic pieces on my body, and then after that it went into the color, and then more color on top of that, then the mask and the tubes and everything specifically placed and everything, so it was a process.
Where we're coming into this, they have the silicone chest piece already applied, they have the neck applied, cheeks are on, chin and nose are on, and they're just kind of putting the final forehead piece on at this point. They just finished blending off the flashing that I talked about earlier, where that melts and disappears right into the actor's skin. Starting to base out the skin. Bart Mixon's down on the legs, kind of blotching up the legs, working out at least the initial undertone, while Tom is working on the face and kind of basing it out. Starting to work out some of the black tones and those disgusting dirty tones to it. This is about a 3.5 to 4 hour makeup with 2 to 3 artists involved with it. I'm starting to add all these kind of drips and stains, starting to blend them into the wardrobe at this point. Tom's kind of adding final touches, starting to add the hair pieces. Bart Mixon's in there with the hair pieces right now. Each hair piece is it's a lace piece. So for continuity, we did it in a bunch of little patches. And instead of hand laying the hair, we would actually have a little lace piece. So we'd have all the patches that could lay down, and we had a template for everything.
Once they got that process down, it was like 45 to 50 minutes they got down to.
I remember saying to Terry, the casting agent, I was like, you know, I want someone like that guy from Seven. He should look like he's on the verge of death. Remember that guy Sloth who was tied to the bed? Well, that's the guy. We had that guy. The same actor who was tied to the bed in Seven is the guy who plays the demon in this film.
I love these roles where I'm like totally opposite. I was powerful and mean and scary.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action!
And I love that because I'm not that way. And it's just great. And I just like to really let loose.
I loved how much he put into it, and I really think he just embodied that pure evil of that character.
When I saw Insidious, it's like, yeah, this is the scene that's coming. Yes, I know. But it's like when it happens, like I jump myself, so I scare myself, and I think that's very, very cool. I love jump scares. That's really cool. It's really scary.
I think it's always better to have something for your imagination, you know, and hide it and not put something right in front of you, right in your face. You know, I think the best horror movies are you keep it in the dark, you show a little bit, and let the imagination of the audience go from there.
Check, check, 2, 2, 2, check, check.
Thanks for letting me come and listen to you guys. It sounds really, really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How did you guys get involved with the movie?
We were asked to do this song. It's a cover of a Tiny Tim song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and they used it in the first movie, so they just kind of wanted to bring it back.
Tiptoe. When we found out we were gonna cover Tiptoe Through the Tulips, it's not a song that a band would normally cover, but in some respects, it's not too different from the type of songs we write.
The original song is interesting because structurally, like how the chords are laid out, it's kind of meant to be kind of cheery in a way. I think just like certain elements, like just the ukulele and sort of the bare bones style of it makes it eerie and makes it weird. Tiny Tim sings in falsetto. It's weird.
Yeah, it's almost a song that like you can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And which is when it's playing in a very serious movie, it makes you uncomfortable. We've just taken it and just added kind of a more wall of sound to it, and
Yeah, I really like your take on it.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, Hannah's drums are very epic. That definitely makes it a lot different.
This studio is excellent. It's the biggest, most comprehensive studio we've ever had the chance to work in. Probably 60 microphones like put up around the room. So there's just every little whisper is getting picked up.
Sorry, I think it's a little bit too fast. Maybe just a tiny bit faster, because it seems like...
So how'd you guys actually, come together as a band?
Well, Clem and I met through our school, Wildwood. We met in 8th grade.
Clem and I met in Hollywood at a music program. Yeah, and then it was 2012 where Clem had started releasing the music she's recorded with a mentor of ours, Joel Jerome, and Burger Records liked the music, just found it through word of mouth.
On my SoundCloud.
The first tape came out in January of 2013, and it came out before the band had actually like formed in practice.
Yeah.
So the band sprung out of necessity, and the chemistry clicked.
Where'd you get the name Cherry Glacier?
Cherry Glazer is the name of also the name of a KCRW news reporter. She does Morning Edition. She's a hip lady. We did an interview with her for NPR. She knows what's up. She's great.
So you guys are still in high school?
Yeah. Yep, the two of us are. It's hard to balance, like, you know.
Yeah, how is
really
that?
hard. I took my SAT in the beginning of summer. It was awful. It was the worst experience. I embarrassed myself so badly. I dropped a pencil sharpener, and the guy who was like reading the directions just stopped and came out, whatever. It was terrible.
I'm about to too. I'm in my senior year. And
Yeah, us too.
it's so hard to balance everything with
Yeah,
work
how do you-
and
how do you-
school.
how do you do it?
Like, clearly, I'd rather go shoot a movie than do schoolwork.
Yeah.
So I hear you guys did some research on Tiny Tim, who sings Tiptoe.
Yeah, a little bit.
What did you find out?
He showered every day from 1985 until the day he died, and he also wore adult diapers. Yeah, he was super OCD about his hygiene. He wore adult diapers, which he thought was more hygienic.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah, it was really gross.
We're pretty excited to be a part of the Insidious series. I think it's really cool to be part of a horror movie. It's a scary one too. Yeah, just cover new ground for both the song and for us as a band. We're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're so psyched. When people hear it for the first time, I want them to feel like they should have brought an adult diaper with them to the movie theater.
Like Tiny Tim would have.
We're trying to Tiny Tim this bitch.
Tiny Tim, this bitch. If I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me and tiptoe through the tulips with me?
Awesome, guys.
My name is Michael J. Curry, and I'm a parapsychological investigator and a psychic medium. A psychic person, or everyone is psychic to some degree. Intuition is a psychic gift. That is a person who can sense spirit and can sense the energy of humans and everything living. A medium is someone who can actually sense and or see and or communicate with the disembodied spirits who are on the other side, as we call it, in other realms or other dimensions. In relationship to Insidious 3, there's only one medium in the story, and that would be the medium herself. Specs and Tucker are what we know as ghost hunters in the paranormal community. And of course, in the movie, you realize that they've never really seen a ghost. Wannabe ghost hunters, so to speak. Now, this is a room where I always see the same spirits. This would have been the outside porch, and originally there would have been no windows here, so that ventilation of air could flow through the porch and go into the actual lobby of the hotel. But ever since I have been coming here, I've always seen two women sitting at that table, but the women are always playing cards. Their clothing looks resplendent of the Victorian era, which would have been the 1890s. Now, if we were to ask questions of the people who currently live in this building, if they've ever seen the spirits, some might say they have, some might say they never have. Other people, though, might say that they've seen a deck of cards laid out on the table or a spread of cards, and they look old-fashioned, and they don't understand where they came from, and they turn their back and they go to look again and the cards are gone. I do use tools. If I have a team with me, they use all kinds of tools, but we use like a magnetometer, and we use dowsing rods, and we use crystal pendulums and things like that. We really don't use a lot of the electrical equipment that's shown in 90% of the reality ghost hunter shows, because those aren't really designed for ghost hunting. They're really designed for plumbers to use for looking for electrical wiring in the wall so that they don't cut into a wall and either, get killed or even worse, get a 1970s perm or something, But really, truly, most ghost hunting is done, these are my tools, my hands, my mind, and my entire being is what I use, and I relate to the spirits through that mechanism, if I can use that. There are differences between a ghost and a spirit guide, a poltergeist. A poltergeist, for example, really is not a ghost. It comes from the energy of a living person. And so that energy seems to revert outward in a way that can make curtains move or paper move, and it's very real. A ghost is someone who has lived their life and they have died, but they don't know why they're still here. Or they do know that they're still here, they weren't ready to move on, and so they go back to places that they loved in their life. But some ghosts, and I would say the majority of ghosts that wander the earth, are the latter. They are the type of spirits that were not ready to go. They don't understand where they are. They're sort of stuck. A spirit guide, on the other hand, is a spirit that has evolved as a spirit. They know they're deceased, but they want to help the living to be able to move forward. Why they are able to go back to a place that they lived in, like this beautiful building, or a church, or their place of business. Why is it that they can go back there? And that's where I come in. I'm able to help the spirits identify where they are, why they're still here, and I help them to make peace with the memories of their life, their last incarnation on the earth, so that they can move on to wherever it is we go after death. So here we are in the restroom of the building, and this is a very interesting place because I've encountered a ghost here 14 different times. It's always the same spirit. A gentleman, very tall, about 6'5". He has a satchel of music under his arm. You can see the sheet music. When I first saw him, he looked as solid as I was to you and you are to me. But it was pretty frightening when I went over to the sink, was washing my hands, and I noticed in the reflection of the sink, this man walk from here and walk right through this door. Pretty amazing. I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was certainly startled. How did this career find me? It really did find me. I've been able to see spirits since I was about 4 years old. I saw my first ghost in the Catholic Church where my family attended. And I've been able to see them and hear them and communicate ever since that time. When I was a child, of course, I was deathly afraid of the dark, and when some of the spirits would appear to me, it was a horrifying experience, not unlike what we're seeing in Insidious 3 and the characters. But one nice thing was that my mother is also very psychic and sensitive, so was her mother, and my mother was able to explain some of these things to me, which helped me to not be afraid as much. I realized that they were people too, but they're sort of stuck in another side, another dimension. And I've always loved helping people. I was taught that you always help people if you can. And so I wanted to help the spirits. Now, I didn't know they were spirits at first. The difference is their aura. An aura is an electromagnetic energy field around the body. Anything living has it, humans, animals, plants. And it's that energy that surrounds the being that helps me to identify whether or not a person is alive or a person is deceased. You know, you think back to ancient paintings and you see pictures of Christ and saints and holy people, and they had halos around their heads. Well, I've always wondered if those halos were reflective of the aura that those people would have had when they were on the earth, or if the mediums were able to see them in spirit, did they have golden auras and did they have white auras? And why is white always associated with ghost? Well, it has to do with the aura. So it all goes hand in hand. It's all in conjunction. And so when I see a spirit, I look immediately to see what their aura colors are. This is probably one of the oldest parts of the apartment building. And through this fire door is the landing of the original elevator that, as you can see, still works to this day. The elevator shaft itself isn't haunted, but a child ghost has been seen running around this very area. And wow, if you could see the hair on my arm standing up right now, I feel that child is nearby. Certain dates of the year, they've heard a child crying. They hear sobbing and they've heard screams coming from this very elevator shaft. When they come to investigate, nothing can be found to explain the screaming or the crying. I have worked with evil spirits in the past, not by choice, but like in Insidious 3, many times as the people are trying to understand what's happening, they realize that the spirit they're dealing with is an evil demon from the underworld. And I have had to do that too, and it's a very difficult thing to experience. One time I had a negative entity at a famous hotel in San Diego, California, where I was doing a show, and it kept interrupting the camera. It would turn off the cameras and it would turn off the sound equipment and it would make the ceiling fan spin opposite of the way it was going. And in my room at night, there was an armoire with a television inside, and the spirit would literally, I turned off the TV, I wanted to go to sleep, and it would turn the TV back on and the channels would roll and the doors to the armoire would slam open and slam shut like this, in and out, in and out, just causing all kinds of, wreaking havoc with the room. The interesting thing was, I finally just said, stop, enough. And it stopped, and then it started again. And as I thought about the tapping of the window and the movement of the in-out of the doors of the armoire, it was tapping out SOS in Morse code. So in essence, the spirit was asking for help. And that's how I was able to help this spirit that had been causing all kinds of problems, which seemed negative in the hotel. And in the 24 hours that I was on the property, I was able to communicate with that spirit and help her to move on. So I will work with some negative entities if I feel I can help them. But if I can't, then I refer them to people who only work with negative entities. Oh, right here. I feel a cold spot right here. Many times when spirits appear, the temperature changes from a warm day to freezing cold. And right in this area, I do feel that it's cold. I wish you could feel it too. It feels good because today it's about 102 degrees outside, so this old building warms up with the outside temperature. I was very impressed in watching Insidious 3 that the writers and the actress must have done a lot of research and must have interviewed a lot of mediums to know that mediums, we do have to pull back, and there are times where we have to turn down cases. I don't take every case that calls me. I'm very selective. I want to make sure that I'm healthy enough to handle mentally, physically, spiritually, the energy of the entity that I'm going to be dealing with, because it is very difficult work. So people just have to realize that we are living with spirits, just as we're living with microwaves, television waves, radio waves. They're all moving around us in particles. And the same thing is true of spirits, because spirits are electricity. It's been really fun today having you along with me as I give you a tour of this beautiful old historic building where I've been able to show you what I do on a daily basis as a psychic medium. Thanks for joining me on this historical parapsychological investigation.
You should have something in here.
Okay.
Could you hand me that box?
your chubby cheeks.
Never seen this picture of them before.
She is so beautiful. And I'm sorry to say this, but your dad is hot.
Vomit.
It's just a fact. Just a fact.
Oh, we should
Probably get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? The Cure, 1980. Lily, I can't put down in words how much I miss you. I'm so proud of you that you are following your dream and traveling, but I know that I'm not a whole person without you and can't wait for you to come home. Love, Sean. Oh my God. That's so sweet. I'm seriously gonna cry right now.
He didn't write that. He had a buddy of his write that.
Okay, maybe when the doctor fixes your leg, they can give you a little attitude adjustment.
This is my mom's. I'm keeping it.
All the scans are good. Her lungs, everything. Her bones appear to be healing at a normal rate.
Good. Look at her. She can barely breathe.
Mr. Brenner, I think that anxiety may be the cause this time.
No. No, stress is a mental problem. She has physical problems.
And I've seen anxiety cause people extreme physical symptoms. Hallucinations, shortness of breath, even paralysis. She suffered a serious accident. And this type of post-traumatic stress is very common.
She says there's a man following her. A ghost.
Okay, well, just hearing that confirms for me that she needs some type of therapy. I know that she lost her mother recently. The accident, she's been through a lot. I just think that with the right psychiatric help, she's gonna be fine.
Yeah. You know, when my wife got cancer, everyone said it'd be fine. You know, she'd be okay. I wouldn't have to worry. And I believed him. And she wasn't okay. She was gone within months. So I'm going to act like my daughter's dying until I know for sure she isn't. Your mother is much better at the love part. She's really affectionate with you guys. So I figured that's how it's gonna be. That's her job. And I'd be the protector and the provider. But I'm failing at that now. I don't know what's happening to you. I don't know how to stop this.
Find her.
I believe you never heard of Masters of the Universe.
No.
A generation just didn't get the good cartoons.
So, when you guys say you're ghost hunters, what do you mean?
Exactly that. We hunt ghosts.
How do you hunt ghosts?
Mostly you sit in a dark room and you ask, is anybody there? And you wait for a response.
How often do you get a response?
Not very often. Never, basically.
Interesting. How long do you sit there for?
4 or 5 hours at most.
It's really fun.
All the scans are good. Her lungs, everything. Her bones appear to be healing at a normal rate.
Good. Look at her. She can barely breathe.
Mr. Brenner, I think that anxiety may be the cause this time.
No. No, stress is a mental problem. She has physical problems.
And I've seen anxiety cause people extreme physical symptoms. Hallucinations, shortness of breath, even paralysis. She suffered a serious accident. And this type of post-traumatic stress is very common.
She says there's a man following her. A ghost.
Okay, well, just hearing that confirms for me that she needs some type of therapy. I know that she lost her mother recently. The accident, she's been through a lot. I just think that with the right psychiatric help, she's gonna be fine.
You know, when my wife got cancer, everyone said it'd be fine. You know, she'd be okay. I wouldn't have to worry. And I believed him. And she wasn't okay. She was gone within months. So I'm going to act like my daughter's dying until I know for sure she isn't. Your mother is much better at the love part. She's really affectionate with you guys. So I figured that's how it's gonna be. That's her job. And I'd be the protector and provider. But I'm failing at that now. I don't know what's happening to you. I don't know how to stop this.
Find her.
All the scans are good. Her lungs, everything. Her bones appear to be healing at a normal rate.
Good. Look at her. She can barely breathe.
Mr. Brenner, I think that anxiety may be the cause this time.
No. No, stress is a mental problem. She has physical problems.
And I've seen anxiety cause people extreme physical symptoms. Hallucinations, shortness of breath, even paralysis. She suffered a serious accident. And this type of post-traumatic stress is very common.
She says there's a man following her. A ghost.
Okay, well, just hearing that confirms for me that she needs some type of therapy. I know that she lost her mother recently. The accident, she's been through a lot. I just think that with the right psychiatric help, she's gonna be fine.
You know, when my wife got cancer, everyone said it'd be fine. You know, she'd be okay. I wouldn't have to worry. And I believed him. And she wasn't okay. She was gone within months. So I'm going to act like my daughter's dying until I know for sure she isn't. Your mother is much better at the love part. She's really affectionate with you guys. So I figured that's how it's gonna be. That's her job. And I'd be the protector and provider. But I'm failing at that now. I don't know what's happening to you. I don't know how to stop this.
find her.
All the scans are good. Her lungs, everything. Her bones appear to be healing at a normal rate.
Good. Look at her. She can barely breathe.
Mr. Brenner, I think that anxiety may be the cause this time.
No. No, stress is a mental problem. She has physical problems.
And I've seen anxiety cause people extreme physical symptoms. Hallucinations, shortness of breath, even paralysis. She suffered a serious accident. And this type of post-traumatic stress is very common.
She says there's a man following her. A ghost.
Okay, well, just hearing that confirms for me that she needs some type of therapy. I know that she lost her mother recently. The accident, she's been through a lot. I just think that with the right psychiatric help, she's gonna be fine.
You know, when my wife got cancer, everyone said it'd be fine. You know, she'd be okay. I wouldn't have to worry. And I believed him. And she wasn't okay. She was gone within months. So I'm going to act like my daughter's dying until I know for sure she isn't. Your mother is much better at the love part. She's really affectionate with you guys. So I figured that's how it's gonna be. That's her job. And I'd be the protector and the provider. But I'm failing at that now. I don't know what's happening to you. I don't know how to stop this.
Find